But first, our failing energy grid that's on the brink of collapse this summer, according to the Australian Energy Market Operator. Today, Energy Minister Chris Bowen announced that you, the taxpayer, would underwrite a 5-fold increase in the government's so-called taxpayer-backed renewable program across the country. Joining me now for the latest, gas and energy market analyst Saul Kavonic. Well, I'll get you to do a couple of things if I can, Saul. Take us through the detail of this announcement and what it means for real people in terms of their power bill, but for all of us, I guess, in terms of grid stability. But let's not forget, this is a government that said by 2030 we'd have 82% renewables. How are we tracking on that target?
Well, fundamentally, what this is about is we're seeing after the government has made a mess of our energy market, they're now resorting to taxpayer money to bail us out of this mess. And we're now officially well down the road of taxpayers subsidising energy users. What we're seeing here is an admission by the government that they're very worried about blackouts. And they're trying to fix it, but they're trying to fix it without the best, most efficient solution, which is gas, because they need to pander to the Greens. And so they're resorting to more expensive and less effective solutions with this capital investment scheme here. Now, it is a big deal because it's another major market intervention and change by the government. What we're going to see is rolling auctions every 6 months of these capacity schemes. It's not as bad as the renewable energy target was, but it still has trade-offs. And the biggest trade-off here is going to be taxpayers picking up the bill. Well, no details being provided here. The reason why they're not disclosing the pricing and so on that they've guaranteed here is not very good. So we have every reason to be concerned this is not competitive. Gas would have been a much cheaper option. But there's other trade-offs here which are really important for our grid stability and our power prices at home. And that is when the government goes down this route, it also, as an unintended consequence, is going to deter investment from capacity investors who are looking to make investments without subsidies from government and now are having to face artificial competitive pressure from government subsidised capacity. And what this does is it's going to see further drying up of private sector investment without subsidies. And it leads to a vicious cycle where the government's going to have to intervene more, subsidise more, and taxpayers pick up more and more of the bill.
You're absolutely right, and I'll point out that the modelling they took to the election, that's been found on the issue of electric cars, on the issue of these renewable targets to be completely out of kilter with reality. We heard today with this announcement that nothing has been costed. They would not talk about cost. They say they don't want that out there in the marketplace, although you, the taxpayer, are paying for it. It feels to me, Saul, if you look at the results on their electric car sales, 27%, way down from the 89% by 2030 that they promised, and all the calamities you've just explained there well in relation to today's announcement. This feels like desperation.
Well, it certainly looks like that from, I think, energy market participants, where, again, it's just another major policy being announced in response to previous failures just over the last 12 months. You're right about the penetration of electric vehicles is slower. Look, it is actually possible to get to that very high penetration. We've seen it in some of the Nordic countries, but again, with very high subsidies, and that hasn't been costed yet. And all that we do is when we start electrifying, for example, our gas at home and into electric vehicles on the roads, it puts more of a burden on our energy grid. And coming back to that 82% renewable energy target, this capacity investment scheme announced today is also an admission that we're nowhere near getting to that. And in fairness, I think what they've announced today might help us get a little bit of the way there, but we're still going to fall well short of getting anywhere near 82%. That is widely held view across the entire industry. And again, so what we're seeing is another knee-jerk market intervention, another going bigger by the government as we spiral into more and more interventions to fix problems getting towards targets set by the government, which were unrealistic and impossible to achieve anyway.
All right, Saul Kavonic, thank you for joining us from London. I know it's a stretch, but I think it's really important to get your take on this today.